everybody. It's Wednesday. Whoa.
But it does feel like a Thursday
Yeah.
because welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And tonight we are here to talk all kinds of fishing with you guys. So
Earlier this week we were going to talk with Powered Up MKE, but they came down with some illness. So you guys get better over there, Mark. So then we put out kind of like a post about what you guys wanted to talk about. So if you guys have anything else in addition to what we've already found out, throw it up in the comments, and we have open mic night. So just whatever we want to talk about, we'll talk about.
that is for sure. So, with that, we normally start with kind of our fishing report. And I guess
What's up, Ray?
One of the things that we should mention off the bat is, right now we are in a cold spell, but do not forget that last week, this time, we were talking about a giant warm up that was coming. We were talking about rain in different places. And so right now in this super cold spell, it's easy to assume that there's ice everywhere. I saw people posting, oh, is there ice on Pettenwell? It's like it was probably open recently, So we actually took this last week Saturday and let things freeze up a little bit, because even though some of the middle spots of that ice might be a little bit thicker, it's just nice to let those shores thicken up enough that you're not just creating a mess out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did go out Sunday and we did find actually better conditions than I thought that we would.
Yeah, we actually found some pretty good ice down by just south of us. Actually bumped into a buddy and his first time ice fishing partner, so that was pretty cool. But the ice was really good actually down there. You could tell that it had melted and then refroze, but it froze back pretty hard, and there was pretty good 4 inches or so, and even the shores were pretty good. But still, it's almost all season long. Just keep your spud bar with you, keep your ice picks handy, because you just never know.
And if you are listening to our different ice report and the things that we're talking about, I do imagine that conditions, I guess, have changed since Sunday. Like I said, because it has been so cold since then. So I was going to say we're already at Thursday, but like Josh said, it's Wednesday in this week. But even then, there's quite a bit of ice that has probably formed in that time. So if you guys are going out and doing different ice fishing trips, I'm interested in hearing that. If you're traveling this weekend for fishing, let us know that. We are going to be actually traveling to Illinois to see some of my family. And so if you know of ice in Illinois, then you'll be my best friend, and let us know that too. But
there is no Christmas miracle down there.
But I guess, we did talk about ice conditions by us. How was the fishing?
Fishing was slow, but that was leading up to kind of this cold spell here, and we ran into fish that whole week last week. There was a lot of fish watching baits and not biting, and we pulled up and, hey, what's up, Eric? There's a guy doing pretty well on a dead stick with some minnows.
Some people would call this setup a wind jigger, but I'm not sure it was quite that. It was a little bit different.
It was a wind jigger.
But it was awesome because the guy, when we did stop and talk to him, and he was saying that it was a piece of equipment that was new to him, even though it was obviously not new equipment. He had picked it up at an estate sale. I guess like some old guy out there had passed away, and that's terrible, and that's it stinks, especially before the holiday. But to have your gear kind of live on, and to have this guy, he, like you said, that was the most successful setup that we saw of the day.
That was probably the most fun of the day, is just watching that guy run after his little jigger thing.
Flags up.
Hey, Tony, Merry Christmas to you guys too. But he was using Rosies, and they were actually pretty big. But he caught a bunch of nice perch. We caught a few nice perch on the wax worms and a couple sunfish, but really, it was just slow. Everything just didn't really want to eat just normal. So we didn't have any minnows with us. So
That's actually a good point. We are such believers in plastics that we often don't bring bait other than that. Some people call us crazy. And I guess in this instance, I called ourselves a little bit crazy because, I was watching all these minnows and I was watching all those fish. And, I threw everything in my tackle box at it. And we were not getting those bites. And so we were outside of, am I pronouncing it right? Clemens River Resort.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And actually, I just assumed that they were open because I assumed that they were a bait shop, and it turns out that they were not even open. But I walked up and they saw me and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's help you out anyways." And it was really nice because, like Josh said, I went back out there, we talked some fishing, but hit the ice again, and the waxies are what made the difference for us. So I don't know. Sometimes that's just how it goes, and I hate to admit that, but
Well,
catching fish, that's the goal.
Well, I mean, I caught a couple of fish on plastics. It just was really, really, really hard. Um, you know, it was super nice of Clemens to get us some waxworms. If they didn't have to go in the shop and get those for us, so that really kind of saved the day. But just kind of being out there, it was our first time out there. Oddly
in that spot, yeah,
in that spot because it's kind of close to our house and it's a cool little spot. But when you're just being able to observe where everybody's fishing and like people going on and off, it seems like it's one of those spots where people come down there, they fish for an hour or two, and they're like, well, this isn't hitting, and they move on. So, be prepared for a lot of that if you're down there. Be prepared for a lot of just close combat fishing.
Yeah.
But it's fun. You get to meet new people, and that's what early ice is all about for me, I guess.
Well, and Eric is mentioning that it was actually slow. He must have been up in Phelps last weekend. Oh, you're doing a different one than I was even reading, but that's okay. I just hadn't even gotten there yet. But in a previous comment, he was saying lots of lookers up in Phelps, not many takers. He said that the waxies were getting more bites. Waxies, no spikes. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, that's what it says. Spikes. Oh, waxies, spikes. No plastics.
But what we found is that we were getting bites on only the waxies. So, it's funny because I was like, oh, maybe it's a live bait thing where it's minnows and worms or whatever. But, they were not having it with the spikes. And I think you tried them and we took them off your hook and put the waxies on because that's what was working. So,
yeah. Yep.
Spike is saying, let's talk pike fishing. Spud, let us know what part of pike fishing you want to talk about because that is a super vague topic.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about pike fishing. That's something that we do a little bit of, but I would say that as far as like a target species for us, I would say that we're pretty novice at it. That's what I would call us anyway. I know how to set up a tip up. I know like kind of where to put one, but as far as targeting trophy, like specifically going out there, I couldn't give you the same amount of information as I could about bluegills or crappies, so yeah,
well,
that'd be a fun topic.
As far as pike go, where I've had most of my experience, I guess, is the river. And so, the river system versus a lake system is a little bit different. I mean, there's still a predator fish and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that a lot of different things happen. I don't know. I always think that the river fish are more active, which that might not even be a true statement. But, I see so many different pike caught in that river system, and maybe I just don't visit the lakes enough.
Well, and here's something that I learned a couple of years ago at the Madison Expo. I was talking with
Wisconsin
Duffy.
Fishing Expo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin Fishing Expo. I was talking with Duffy. He's a muskie guy. Does a muskie school down in Madison, and he was telling me about pike and that pike don't really necessarily like warm water. And so where muskie, you can catch them up shallow during the summertime, like pike, you can usually go out to the main basins. And so I found myself thinking of pike being as maybe somewhat of a deeper fish, not necessarily having to fish for them deeper, but like just over more basin type stuff where they're patrolling, maybe points or weed edges out deeper. So I don't know. Is that something?
Well, Ray is saying shallow, weedy areas, but I think that's one
Okay.
of the funny things about fishing in general. Because even as I was thinking about tonight, there was a request to talk about setting up for fish. Where do you go on lakes? And I started laughing at myself because I started thinking about panfish, and I was like, yeah, like bluegills. Sometimes they're like up really shallow, and you got to find green weeds. And then I'm like, no, but sometimes they're in those muddy basins where those bait are, and like even in my head, there's kind of that internal fight, and I think even situationally, what it comes down to is kind of like targeting. I was going to say match the hatch in winter. There's like not much hatching, but match the forge. It's just not a catchy term. But I think you got to target what are those fish eating, and then kind of match that.
Yeah. So Ray also brings up a good point. He's catching most of his 4 to 7, and I think part of that has to do with what body of water you're fishing. But that is a good point, because 4 to 7 in a majority of lakes is the majority of weed growth, and then after 7, that's 7, 8 to 10, 12, that range, the weeds really start tapering down, and so well, here's the best tip of the night. So that being that would be like a weed edge, that's kind of where like the panfish like to hang out a lot of times. And so like Andy's saying here, find the food no matter what the species. So that's a really good point. So we should pretty much be able to catch almost any predator if we put our mind to it, because we chase down their food and we know them pretty good.
Decently. Oh, that's Ray was saying though he catches most of his between 4 and 7 feet. One of the things that I think that we do, or I've learned from Josh, and maybe it's unique, or I didn't know it was unique because it's something that we do that's normal to us, but especially at the end of that season, we fish very, very high in the water column for pike. I was almost going to say shallow, and that's not it. I'm not necessarily looking for shallow water. What I'm doing is I'm like, when the ice is here and my tip up is set like a foot, maybe 2 feet, depending on how much water you're in, the clarity especially, set that bait right under the ice. Because I think what you were saying is, pike aren't necessarily afraid of that cold water, and they're out cruising in winter, maybe, more than I said in the first place. I didn't know how much they moved around, but especially that end of season, pike will know that there's some amount of natural die-off in that system, and they will cruise and they will eat that, because everything is always looking for that easy bite. So whatever that is, if it's dead fish, if it's right under the ice, that's something that we found to work for us.
Yeah, and that's something where in especially that late season situation, I'll collect, if they're kind of fresh minnows from guys using shiners or suckers on their tip ups, I'll collect those dead ones and put them in a Ziploc. I keep maybe a half a dozen frozen with me in the sled, just because I'll put those on and I'll just put it like that foot under the ice. And for one, that's free bait that I don't have to keep alive. And two, it really does work, because if we've all have those stories, right, where you're sitting in the shack and you're catching and catching and catching and releasing, and then all of a sudden it stops for no reason, and you're marking fish still, or all of it just disappears. And then you look down your hole and you're like, holy crap, there's like an alligator down there, and it like spans the whole width of your shack. But that's because that fish was attracted from all those fish fluttering up and down, and then they're sitting there waiting for the next one so they can eat it. And so they cruise that top of the ice. Easier the meal, the more apt they are to bite it. That's kind of my philosophy. Look at, we got a whole bunch of comments.
Well, Spud just chimed in right now. I'll sit right next to the panfish people if they're catching fish, and then the pike are there. The funny thing about that for us is, being by that Wolf River, there's a lot of these backwater spots that people do go set up their tip-ups for pike. And it is always really funny because Josh and I will come by as panfishers, and, sometimes we drill holes like pretty close. Some of these spots are really small. You go in expecting to kind of share the water to some degree, but, it's funny because the pike fishermen are always eager to let the pan fishermen come in. Oh, you're going to bring the fish in? All right.
Yeah,
cool.
that's what I was hearing. all of you pike fishermen, I'll fish with you any day. And I'll catch all of the bait, and you can catch all of the big fish if you want. So Eric was saying here he had a buddy catch a 40-inch pike. Talk about doubling your fish when you reel it in, huh?
Yeah, that's
a pretty awesome story. And then you caught a 37 and a 15-inch walleye. Jesus, I don't ever get that lucky. I don't catch the luckiest that we got was we got a really big muskie on camera in like 30 feet of water that was suspended, just sitting there looking at our camera. Came up, swam away. That's it. That's as lucky as I get. All these stories.
Yeah, it has a lot of stories of pike and gills, but that's funny because that's exactly the kind of thing that we are talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually really fun.
I did want to touch on one.
Yeah, go for it.
Ray, you were talking about putting small perch on tip-ups. That's that can be a great thing too. Little perch, little crappies, little panfish. But be careful. Just make sure you read your regulations in the state that you're in, because some areas that's not allowed. But here in Wisconsin, we are allowed to do that. So that is great, great stuff, and also works in the summertime. If you got a big bobber, you want to let one swim around. There you go.
Well, and that's actually exactly what Andy's talking about here.
Hey,
so
Jim.
He has kind of a long comment, but he's talking about if he is fishing in 25 feet of water, he'll set his tip-ups 8 or 10 feet down, and he'll use a live crappie, and that's kind of like that match the hatch thing that we were kind of laughing about.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it because it's legal here in Wisconsin. So again, it isn't everywhere, and just know where you're going out. But if you are looking to, kind of blend in and try to especially catch a finicky fish, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Ray, I wish I have to work. Can I rain check? Oh, because you guys are organizing a fishing trip. I wish I was going. I know with the holiday, there's a lot of people going to a lot of different places. So if you guys are traveling this weekend, let us know where you're going to, because I'm going to wish that was me. We are going south to visit family, and so that's not going to be ice. But
yay, family. Boo, no ice.
But I think the weekend after, well, we're visiting family 2 weeks in a row, but
yeah,
week number 2, we may be able to hit ice, but that may be in a state other than Wisconsin. So we'll have to see. So if you're from Minnesota, I might be seeking out a fishing report or an ice report. But I'm hearing lots of great things come out of some of those bigger fisheries up in Minnesota. So I'm hoping if some of those bigger areas are iced over, then some of those smaller areas are as well.
Yeah.
I guess with that, there has been quite a bit of attention in the last few years about fishing in Minnesota, because one of the things that they do there is those big fancy hard houses. But I'm hearing quite a bit of that come on over to the Wisconsin side of things. So if you guys have a trip plan that's more local, but something that you're excited about, let us know about that, because that's something I've actually never stayed in a hard house. And so I'm going to be booking that trip coming up here sometime.
Yeah, it would be fun to get you out in a hard house. I haven't been in one for a long time, so that would be really fun. And I really do hope that catches on over here. Hopefully we get some cold winters again. But up north, we have plenty of up north water to go put a hard house on. And the wheelhouses now are just so awesome that they're made for year round. You can just bring them up north, put them on a lake lot. You could lease a lake lot for the summer and then end your lease and then lease a different lake lot. So you don't have to be stuck in the same place every year. So that would be kind of cool. But I really do hope that catches on, because that's really fun.
Well, and what we're going to be doing kind of in place of that this year is we do have our Otter Monster Lodge, and that's going to be really exciting to go ice camping in. Josh was able to set up kind of a little wood burning fireplace. So I know that we put a picture or two out, but much more on that to come. But there are actually some other fun tools that we have coming out this year that we can't wait to use on the ice. And I'm asking this in front of the camera. I didn't even ask this of Josh. Did you bring that on purpose? Is that just sitting here? I'm pointing to things off camera. Yeah, Josh had put in some orders for some new things. And even though it's Christmas time and they're not, I guess it's gifts to yourself.
Oh, I mean,
ourselves.
you guys, do you guys want to see what's in the box? Or, I mean, it's just like papers and stuff, I guess.
It's not just papers, it's fishing equipment. I bet you could guess now, yeah.
All right.
Oh, gosh.
So I went and I got a couple of new inlines. Got them on pre-order. There you go. Kind of shiny for
I was
this,
going to say, yeah, there's like a crazy reflection there.
Well, because our screen's kind of white, but yeah, it's a cool looking reel. Should be really cool. I'm really excited about it. It has something that a few reels don't have, and then it has a micro adjustment, so you can adjust it for your jig size. And then it has the main drag, the main star drag, and then it has the spool tensioner on the front too. So lots of adjustment. It's pretty comfortable. And I guess I should tell you what it is. It's called the ICX Carbon by Piscifun.
Show that box.
Well, it's going to be shiny. Oh, no, it's not. Look at that.
Yeah, so Eric was asking, and you know, it is kind of a sharp looking box even. And yeah, he was asking Piscifun, and it sure is. It's got a different trigger than in previous years. So if this is, you know, if you're looking at this and you're like, I tried something so similar, you know, there are differences. And so yeah, so that's going to be really exciting to use out on the ice this year, actually. I'm getting distracted, like watching what he's doing. That's why I stopped talking.
Yeah, so it's going to be cool. I got one for each of us, so you can have one too. If you guys follow us, you know Emily is staunchly against inline reels, so I bribed her into one.
I wouldn't say staunchly against. I just love a good old fashioned spinning reel, and I don't know. I just haven't acclimated to that yet. I don't know. That's such a weird thing to say. But it is really a great looking reel. And, you know, to have the different adjustments, you know, you have that drag like you were pointing out, but you also have that extra tensioner to kind of tune it into your jig. Mm-hmm. So I know that there's other different products on the market, but some of them you can't tune quite as well. And then you're still stuck like ripping line out and doing kind of the old fashioned thing. So, man, that's going to be fun to get out there.
Ray? Most of the time.
Stick with what works for you.
I would agree with you. But in this instance, I urge everybody to, me personally, go get the $25 Eagle Claw. And it can be the carbon one or the black one or whatever color, doesn't matter. But that reel is by far one of my favorite reels, and it's a great price to go use it, because if you fish panfish, the reel, you can't beat it when you're down in that 3 mil range. It's not the free spool. And Andy has a good point here. He's got the small fly reel. So I mean, that's the same concept, right? So when you're down in that 3 mil range, you know, even 2 mil, that line spin can get pretty crazy, and with a spinning rod. And so these just eliminate that. You know, even we use swivels on our stuff. And even that, you'll still get a bunch of line twist with your smaller jigs, but this eliminates that, and you really will notice a difference. And at 20, you know, get that Eagle Claw. I have like 3 of them that I have on my stuff. I love it. It has a push button on it. I don't care for the trigger. I don't use it to drop, because you still peel line the same way you do off of a spinning reel.
Well, now you won't have to.
Well, yeah, but I'm still going to, because that's how I fish. But the thing is it keeps the spin out of the line, and that's the whole point. And so, you know, if you're nervous about it, I just like them, so I'll spend a little bit more money on something has a little bit more adjustment to it. But that Eagle Claw reel, that's by far probably the best bang for your buck out there right now. I love mine.
I'm a fan of my old-fashioned spinning reels. I don't know. It's just one of the things is it's a comfort level thing and a confidence thing, and it just comfort thing. I just like a hand memory thing. Like I set the hook, I know how it's going to work. And I don't know, all those things sound so cheesy coming out of my mouth, but all adds up to my stubbornness. I guess one of the things that I look for is a really great drag system. So as long as the reel has that, then that's something that I know really helps me as an ice fisherman. But I mean, other than that, you need something that you are comfortable with, because to get a good hook set, to be good at jigging, whatever those different steps are involved in catching a fish, the base of all of that is being comfortable in what you're using.
That's true.
Because imagine those days that you go out and you like totally switch what you're doing. Or have you been like on a guide trip and they hand you a rod that's something like you never pick up or use in your life, and you're like, are you kidding me? That's how those reels just kind of make me feel. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong, and maybe some part of it is right, and I just got to get used to it.
Well, and I'm not saying abandon spinning reels by any means. I have spinning reels on half of my stuff, and that's way better for different applications, especially bigger baits, stuff with bigger fish. Although, one thing I did notice about this was that it has an 11-pound drag on it. So nice. That's really nice. It has a little bit of a beefier drag. But when you get into that stuff, like you need to have the spinning reels. They'll be there. But just when you get into that lighter finesse pan fishing, I mean, the inlines are where it's at. It's been one thing a lot of people don't know is that all these are miniature vertical fishing reels for saltwater. They've been using them in Europe and in Japan and all that for vertical jigging grouper and stuff. They're big. They have big ones. And that they use it for that just because the gear ratio is better. You don't get the line twist. You can just crank it up. It's like a winch. So, these are just miniaturized from that kind of world, and it's been working really well. Before it gets buried here.
A few comments going back a ways. So, Spot, if you're still listening, you're asking, is there going to be a Wisconsin Fishing Expo this year? We had mentioned that a few different times throughout this conversation. And as far as we are aware, the answer to that currently is still yes.
Yes.
So I know the most up-to-date information will get posted on their Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I know they're hoping for the green light on that this year. So unless there's some major barrier that... we'll see. More to come. Hopefully it's still a go. What else for comments?
Andy's using spinning reels 99% of the time while you're catching giant walleyes 99% of the time. So I'll bring my spinning reel when I come visit you. Inline on perch and crappie rods.
Eric is saying, let's talk about power boxes. Eric, that is a thing. We are holding that topic. Mark is a little bit ill. Oh, well, okay. But that's the thing is, I love to show it off. But to be honest, I haven't used it yet this year. So I'm excited. I don't know. It's especially for ice camping. Then I'm really, I've been talking to Mark since last year about how to hook a coffee maker up to it. And I have a few suggestions.
Spud dates on the Wisconsin Fishing Expo is the end of February. Let me click. I'm on the computer. December, January, February.
Just go to the website.
25th through the 26th, or 25th through the 27th of February. If we have any more questions about that, we'll pull the website up.
Matt Stewart, how's it going?
Hey, Matt. Planning on fishing Battle of Bago?
That's a really good question.
Maybe.
We were not planning on fishing last year, and then it just happened. So that was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
I don't... it's okay, Eric. That's why we love you. But I don't know. I don't know Winnebago that well. So if somebody wants to let us join in on your fishing party, we'll come crash a fishing party. We're game.
Here's a funny story, and it really is not even important at all, but it is funny. So like just over a year ago, we got a new truck. Love our little Tacoma. It's awesome. But we did swear in getting a new truck that we're never going to drive this out on the ice. And then, like twice last year, we right away drove it out on the ice. That was just ridiculous, but it made me think of that because Battle on Bago was one of those first times, and we're like, we'll never take this truck out there, and then we just sure enough did. We ended up being actually because we were at Battle on Bago, we were there with the Lakewood crew. Lakewood Products soft-sided hard cases, they're awesome. So if you have not checked that out, definitely do that. But Sarah and that Lakewood crew kind of knew some of the people from Otter Street Fishing Club and all of those different groups that really are helping to make the battle what it is. And so we were able to kind of get into the caravan with all of them and fish with all of them and learn all of Pat Kelmerton's tip-up techniques. And it was really a great time for our group. And Bago was just close enough to us that I would love to learn more about it, but that's only happened in tiny little doses so far.
Yeah. So I pulled it up here on the side. February 18th and 19th is Battle on Bago. Should be fun. We'll be out there at least one weekend trying to catch those sneaky burbits.
Oh, we'll see. I'm
not for Battle on Bago, before that. So we'll know at least what the ice conditions are like. Matt, we'd love to come fish with you, Phil, and John. That'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. John Hafner, you're saying you believe the February 15th.
That was way closer than I would have got.
Yeah. Tickets are on sale now. And that's probably something that you can also get on their website. So I'm kind of glancing over to our other screen.
Here, let me throw it on. Look at this technology. Boop.
Oh, there. Now it's going to be in the comments for everyone to click on. So if you want to, that'll be really easy to do.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring it up on this other screen.
No, I just threw it in the comments. Here.
Oh, yeah, there it was, yeah. Josh is telling me to keep talking. I'm distracted watching what he's doing. He's going to throw some more links in the comments for you guys. So we're talking about the Wisconsin Fishing Expo, and if I had to guess, I would bet that's what he is looking up right now. I feel like it's a website I should know off the top of my head, but to be honest, it's not. So if you guys are looking to, bump into us at any point, that's one of the things that we will be doing this coming winter. I know that we have the Ice Junkies meet and greet, and there's going to be a really fun tournament and possibly Battle on Bago, but certainly the Wisconsin Fishing Expo is a place that we will be in February.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite expos, but also one of the saddest expos because it's really putting almost a cap on the end of ice season, end of February. So we can go up north and continue to catch some ice, but I guess by that time of the year too, we're starting to get a little freezer burnt.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes. Not this year.
Eric is saying I'd love to try for burbot someday. Yeah, me too. No, I guess I've only tried once or twice. But one of these times involved, we're like, let's go out on Bago. We had some good tips on maybe places that we could walk to because we didn't have a snowmobile. And let me just tell you.
Why don't we have the reception at the expo?
Oh my God. But I spent so much time walking around trying to find burbot one day that
she bought a snowmobile.
It was literally, I was like, we're never doing that again.
Well, and to be fair, there was quite a bit of snow. If it was like this year where we don't have that much snow, it wouldn't have been a problem. It's still a lot of walking. I think it was a lot of walking just because of our lack of knowledge of the burbot spawn. I think a lot of people know a lot more than us, and so they just walk out to where they know. We did find some really cool spots that were not fished that probably would hold some burbot spawn. So
if we were there
when they were there. So last year we were a little late. Well, not late. They just kind of had a really weak. They didn't have a big all at once spawn. They had like a trickle spawn. So there wasn't really good year for them last year. But hopefully, we're hoping this year get on a couple. Just be fun.
Find out. Jonathan was saying the island's off the west side. It's great for burbot. That's not very far from where we went, to be honest. So good tip, and we're gonna keep at it.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
if you're out there, if you know anything about it, hit me up.
Well, and maybe we'll post what weekend if we come down to it, we'll post a weekend on our page, and if somebody wants to join us, we'll make a little burbot party. That'd be fun.
Hopefully somebody can see something. They're tricky. I don't know. I've heard that, people up in Minnesota, and it's like a junk fish. Is that a way to put it? Like, you can't keep them off the end of your line. Sometimes you go fishing in these places and that's like all you can get into. And it's like, man, I should go there. Ray, give me a date. We cannot. That's a thing for burbot. It's like when the occasion strikes, it is. I don't know. It's
a Crappie Junction meetup. The Crappie Junction meetup is every weekend wherever we're at. We'll fish with anybody.
With that being said, though, we do end up at some pretty public places, especially because I always talk about, it's the backwaters of the different Wolf River regions. So if you're ever out there, and come say hi if you see us step on the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. Or come over and fish with us. We're not doing anything secret or hiding anything secret. Some of our favorite places to fish are the most popular. So it's, not this weekend. We're coming down by you, Eric, this weekend, almost.
Well, and actually, not to stray too far from this topic, Eric, you're saying Crappie Junction meetup, and it actually spurs an idea because, we actually have some giveaway things.
That's true.
To use to give away. But honestly, it's things that I don't want to ship. So actually, I think that, there's a very good possibility of some kind of a meetup or, an event or something that comes about. Because like I said, we do have some things that we would love to hand out to somebody that we see out there.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We have a giant box sitting behind us that we need to get rid of. So whatever you fit in a giant box.
It's actually tucked away in the closet right now. But there's some other things in that closet I'm going to need to get to before too long. So we'll have to see. That's awesome. Well, you guys will be the first to know the details if any of this happens. So we'll keep in touch.
Yeah. Well, we definitely like to post on Facebook if you didn't notice.
Yeah, if you didn't notice.
All right. Well, and humble. I like it. It's good to be handsome and humble, Eric. Well, did we want to do the lake map thing? Is that something you guys are interested in? Because I got the thing pulled up over here. So we can do something if you want. We don't have to. We can just keep talking.
It's funny because, that this was suggested as a topic, but Josh, this is secretly his least favorite topic.
It's not least favorite. The problem is it's one of my favorite topics that I end up rambling about because it just is, there's just so much to it. And it's one of Emily's least favorite because she's like, shut up. Stop talking.
That's not true at all.
All right, give her. Okay, so when we had to switch gears to a different show, somebody asked about just picking a random lake and talking about how we would attack it. So let's go up here to Eagle River. There's a ton of lakes up here.
And if we zoom in on your lake, that you end up knowing this lake.
Don't say anything because
totally on accident. Yeah, we're just randomly choosing.
Oh, how about this one? Because nobody knows about Big St. Germain Lake.
Oh my gosh. Just zoom in. I know
it's just hard.
Choose one.
It's hard. They're all so tantalizing.
Well, and that's exactly, I guess, if we're talking
Okay.
about tips
How
for
about this
finding
one?
fish, this is going to be the first tip. Is, I guess, first of all, especially this time of the year, being flexible. Because let's say that you show up at a landing and there isn't ice out where you were looking. Maybe just the shores have frozen up or something. So I guess first of all, patience, and second of all, flexibility to go with the conditions of whatever's being presented to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have no idea. Like, I've never seen this lake. I've never heard of it. I just clicked on it because it's two lakes that are connected, and this one has a lot of topography in it. Um, well, it looked like it did. It actually has less topography, just little 1 foot changes according to Navionics here. And then this has quite a bit of topography in it. There's some hills. And so if we zoom in, you know, I guess for me, what I'm looking for, um, first off, is kind of finding out where your landings are, because that's going to kind of dictate where you're going to fish. So let's say the end of this road right here is a landing. So where
Which
you
we don't even know if that's true. So if you know this lake, who knows?
yeah. So let's say this is a landing right here. So now you have the option of fishing either one of these lakes. And are you on foot? Do you have your wheeler with? Blah blah blah. I'm usually on foot. So what I'm thinking about is, if we take our pins here, I always measure this out. This is Navionics app. You can sign in online or you can use your phone. So like here, that's a quarter of a mile walk. That's nothing. That's not a huge walk. And so that is probably where I would start. I would probably come over here. You have this shallow basin right here, and it kind of drops off to something a little bit deeper. There's a shelf, and then there's a point. And so that's kind of where I would start off looking for crappies. If you go another tenth of a mile, 2/10 of a mile, so not quite double what you first did, but you just walk over a little bit. There's a little bit of a hole out here. You can check that. And then if those spots didn't produce that first afternoon, evening, or whatever, or the first half of the day, maybe I'd take lunchtime and walk back towards the boat landing and fish some of this. All that is just, you can see it says spawning boxes, sapling tangles. Looks like there's a lot of structure, some brush refuges, minnow spawning habitat. So it looks like this shoreline has a lot to offer for fish, and it has a lot of this tight topography here. So when the lines are closer together, that's the more steep of an angle you are going from top to bottom. And that's where I really like to focus my fishing, is there. And then you just kind of have to dial in the depths and stuff.
So that's mostly like crappies and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's purely panfish in my head.
Because the other thing I'm thinking is, if you are looking for crappies, and those are some really great spots to look. But I think sometimes, I had mentioned earlier in the show to look for, a 20-foot zone or something. And that's sometimes where bluegills will be in mud flats or whatever. And so you're showing that landing. And I almost wonder, I'm pointing on my screen, which you guys at home cannot see, but.
So she's talking about going from the landing and going up over this way.
Because there are kind of some flats there, so if they're mud, I can't totally read some of that small writing. But like Josh is saying, there's those sharp edges. Sometimes fish come up if there's weeds there. That's again things that fish like. But when they have that drop off, a deep mud zone where they can forage, that's another place that I would go and look as well.
Well, and so you have to take the time of the season into consideration too. So. Sure. So, again, coming off this boat landing, maybe this time of year I would head this way and keep moving this way. Because if you look, there's this right here. That's a little sunken island. There's this 5 foot hump right here that kind of goes down into 16. Like all this is all good stuff to fish this time of year. The thing is if you can't find green weeds, then you're not going to have a lot of fish up shallow.
Yeah.
And so they're going to move out to the basins, and that's where maybe later in the season, mid-season, I would head out this way and head out towards the main basin and just drill a bunch of holes, look for stuff. And then once you start getting into that late ice and stuff, then just kind of start moving in towards, where you can see that spawning structure. And then you're going to be, instead of focusing out here, you're going to be focusing maybe, out in this corner or in this corner, somewhere where they have easy access to go up shallow when the conditions are right. They'll be up there. Bugs will be up there. They're going to start feeding, getting ready for spawn and stuff. And those are going to be where their pre-spawn places are, is those little nooks. So there you go. That's where I would, if I pulled that lake out of a hat, that's where I would start. But look at all this. There's so much.
There is so much.
This is why we can never get any fishing done in the boat. Is because I just want to go search around.
But it is all good, looking around for ice season, because sometimes you do learn things. There was a few spots where it said brush or minnow breeding grounds or this or that.
Mhm.
The more of those little spots that you can have in your back pocket and know about and can kind of hop to and check, those will help you find fish.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, yeah, that's kind of what I was touching on a little bit, that 10 to 15 foot, and then later in the season, go out a little bit deeper. So that's one thing I've really enjoyed about fishing the river bayous, is that the whole lake ideology almost goes out the window, because you can fish in 2 feet of water in middle of February because you got a constant flow of oxygen from the river coming in. And as long as you're not in super weedy stuff, if it's just like woody structure and stuff, those places, they don't get the oxygen bust out like the lakes with the heavy weeds. And so those fish are able to stay up in there, eat bugs all winter. And it's just really fun to fish that way. It can get kind of annoying sometimes because they're super spooky back there, but that's part of the fun about it too.
That is true. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Emily's been marking spots on her Google Maps. That's one of her tips that she likes.
That is actually true. Just something that I always have with me, and it's easy. And if I want, I could share it with him, but I don't even have to.
Oh.
Early in the season, I like to leave Illinois and head north. Later in the season, I do the same. That's really funny. That's really funny. Oh my gosh. But you never know where there's good fishing. So, with that, I guess thanks for being here and thanks for talking fishing, because when we can compare across different locations, that's something that is not only fun, but can be helpful for, all of us in the different regions and zones that we are in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess we move forward to Christmas. We're going to move forward into the ice season. So keep letting us know, what the ice conditions are by you guys, or as they form or as they change. Those are things that we like to, talk about and share. But otherwise, if you guys come and see us out on the ice, make sure to come and say hi. And I mean, I guess other than that, make sure that you're having a good holiday and have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Have happy holidays, and, appreciate you guys coming and spending the night with us, being flexible with our topics. And as always, if you have anybody that you'd like to talk to, or, any products you want us to cover, just let us know, either a message or a comment. And have a Merry Christmas.
And thanks for joining us on this week's episode of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.